I contemplated a job I had to do on one of my motorcycles, and I'll show you. I had to extract.
Why am I
It's
so
called an
dark? Look at that, man. I
expansion.
know I was tan, but holy shit.
Yeah, wow. It's like
You
blowing
are
the whole
dark.
thing out.
Let me see. Let me see if I could help you.
You need a
I'll get
light.
a light.
It's because the light's behind you. The window's behind you.
No, I
You gotta-
usually
you
have
gotta
the front.
There you go.
I have another light. I'll put it on. What the fuck?
What's
Going
up, man?
on? Wait, let me try this. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there you go. The camera's seeing the light through
Oh,
the window
nice.
and it's adjusting itself.
Wild horses.
Well, welcome, yeah, dude. This actually fits perfect with the tech glitches that we normally have. So I love it. I mean, there's never a day that we stream something that it goes 100% right. So
we're
good
on
morning,
air.
Natalia.
Good morning. You can't have that. You cannot have that.
Good morning. All right.
Life is an imperfection. Just remember that. There's no. It's
What
not.
is?
No one has a perfect life. Not even Hugh Hefner.
No.
No one has a perfect life.
But he is buried next to he is buried next to Marilyn Monroe, so that's an accomplishment.
Where's my camera? Like, I want to get. Oh, right there. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. Need both.
Oh man, I think we got one. I put in the thing to press Control V if anybody whatever they last did. Here's okay. I'll do it too. I'm doing it. I'm doing a Control V right now, meaning that the last thing that I copied is going up here.
What's
Barclay Marathons, because I want to know what it was. Because someone finished it. It was Jasmine. It was Jasmine Paris became the first woman to complete the Barclays Marathons race, and I heard of it.
Did you do it, Zach?
I don't know. I think this is more of a race, meaning like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think I could keep up. Like, it's kind of like a tradition. I think I don't really know. I mean, dude, only 20. First of all, would I do it? 20 people have made it to the end of the race with the allotted 60 hours since it was extended to 100 miles and 89. So probably not.
I don't like the odds.
I'm
playing the odds.
Yeah, there's no way. I tried.
Picking up right here. Yeah.
Singing was as bad. Almost all right. I like this. Please.
Who was singing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I tell you what. This weekend, I belted out some tunes for sure at this party for my wife. And
how'd it go?
Rock that joint, bro.
Yeah, look at his beard, man. He changed his whole beard for the event.
Oh yeah, I've got the chops going. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at that. Mutton chops.
Yeah, see, like
oh,
there we go. Now it's good. Now I look like now I look
from
80.
parts unknown in this corner. From parts unknown.
It should be my alter ego. Like, that's what I mean. I should have like this is my heel turn. Like this is my bad guy character.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Oh man, but yeah, it was no, it was good. It was good stuff. Frank was singing. Yeah, that's right. Frank, listen, Frank's got the voice of a songbird. I've heard him serenade people in the gyms before.
Italians either sing really, really good or really, really bad. There's no in between.
It was bad. Who are you, friggin' Simon? Get off. Oh, Frank sings bad. Oh, shut up.
There we go. There's a whole nother. That'll cost you 10 protein treats.
Oh, my God. Yes. So I had a big protein treat meeting. Why can't I get my head in here, Zach? Is it my head's too big or is my hair too big?
Let me see. Let me see if I can help.
You got to move the camera opposite of where you think it's got to go.
Got that. Like,
that's it. Yeah, I don't know why.
Like this. I'm the Phantom.
Now he's frozen.
I'm like Kenny Jones. That was good.
Oh, it was?
Pull it back. Yeah, pull it back. One more.
Did you say Kenny Jones?
Yeah, remember you supposed to Phantom of the Opera for 25 minutes at the Night of Champions.
Yeah, he is.
He was such a character, man. We talk about him all the time on the RX Muscle Show. He was such a freaking character, that guy. it's too bad he didn't have. It's too bad he wasn't 6'2" with Ronnie Coleman's genetics. He would have been an incredible Mr. Olympia.
Yeah, he actually was a good poser, right?
He was a good
poser, but it was like so long.
It took forever. He was also a good fight. He was a fighter, man. Martial artists. Like I lived in Florida at the same time he did in Fort Lauderdale. And there's a famous bar on the corner of Las Olas and the ocean called Elbow Room. And it's 2 floors. It's got a balcony at the top. He got into some fight up there with a bunch of dudes. He was literally throwing them off the balcony. Little Kenny Jones, all 4'8" of them. Shit smashing, bar stools like knocking down, dudes flying over the railing on the second floor. He cleaned the place out. It was insane. And you hear all this commotion. You're expecting to see like fucking a giant dude walk out, and it's just little Kenny Jones.
He's from Howard Beach, Ozone Park, that area. Yep. So I grew up with him around there. So I used to see him at Bev's. He'd be like, "Frankie, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good, Kenny. What's up?" Like he was a character. But that's what bodybuilding. There's so many characters in the fitness industry, and that's we can go on and on. All the guys that we've met who are the people don't even know. Like Jimmy the Bull is a character. Like there's no.
Are you kidding me?
You can't even do a character of Jimmy the Bull. He's a character.
He's a character of a character. He's insane. Yeah.
By the way, Romano, you took some heat in the comments for the natural bodybuilding take. How there's no natural bodybuilders.
Nope, no such thing.
There would. I think they didn't even grasp the concept. They just said he's lost it. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's projecting. I'm like, okay.
Projecting. I do drugs all the time. What are you talking about? I'm projecting.
But I was like, okay, but I also get what you're saying. Look, I was just I listened to it again. I was dissecting what you're saying, and I get it. Like, and maybe they're just thinking semantics because I think they're just not taking what you're saying. You're saying that nothing about what we're doing is natural, and that it's unnatural to work out this much and to train this hard and to do all and to eat this much and they're only thinking about it from a substance point of view. So I like that's what I think. And I don't know. I never thought about it, but I appreciate the take, and it certainly made me think. And you're right when you say that. I think about that every time I like put on my ruck. And I grab my other rec bag and I grab other things, and I'm like, this is definitely abnormal. Like this is not like this is
exactly. But, I think it's just because some guys look at it as, and I think we talked about this last time, is that if you don't take anything illegal, like Frankie, then you're natural. Then you're natural. So you can eat 20 chicken breasts a day and take creatine and vanadyl sulfate and whatever other legal stuff there is. And you call yourself natural, but that's just not true. Working out is not natural.
As a lifetime natty, I was highly offended. I think you should have rephrased this PED free. Right.
Okay.
And then you have to qualify that because aspirin is a PED. So you got to like it. Most people consider what I'm doing legal. If it's legal, then I'm natural. And that is just false.
Well, what if you're from a different country?
Good point. What if?
But that, that is funny because Frank goes PED free. And I say, yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And then John's like, but what does that mean? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm confused again. So
there was an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David started using Viagra, and they were like, Larry's like, the guy's like, Larry, you're juicing, and like, because his Viagra fell on the floor because he was having such great performance in bed with this girl. So I mean, I guess it's up to the specific person, because what if you're on SARMs, but is that considered a PED, or if you're on peptides, or if you're on Yohimbine 5.4 milligrams pharmaceutical grade, are you still, or clenbuterol? are you
Right.
still PED free?
Exactly. So there's got to be a line to draw somewhere. And unfortunately, in this case, there's nowhere to draw it. Because if you do anything, technically, if you do anything other than what is naturally required to survive, then you're done. I mean, out in the jungle, when we were running around in the jungle, with loincloths on, you only ran until you caught the thing you were chasing and you ate it. And then that's it. That's natural. But if you ran after this thing every day repetitively and never caught it just so you could run every day, yeah, I'm running in the jungle. That's kind of natural, but why are you doing it for an unnatural effect? So
So
it's just not there.
the gamer who sits there for 17 hours and downs 10,000 all the caffeine drinks, is that natural? Or is that that's a isn't that a competitive edge?
Yeah,
For that matter, smoking weed should be natural because it's just a plant, right?
But I also never understood why they would that would be lumped in with things where you get in trouble for smoking weed, and I'm like, but is that really like an enhancement for like I think it is for recovery or sleep, but it's not going to, I don't know. I've yet to see a pitcher. I've heard about the pitcher taking LSD and throwing the no hitter, but I've never heard of him taking like 9 bong rips and throwing a no hitter. Like.
But you can take 2 bong rips and go to the gym and get an incredibly intense small body part workout. I mean, I'm all for that.
Sure, I know. What's that guy, dude?
No, I've told you, like, pulling up to the gym, there's a car there like Cheech and Chong. There's smoke coming out of that car. Like, and this woman came out. She's probably like 40 years old. She had a bandana on. And I'm like, how is this woman going to go through a workout right now? I have no idea. I'd be sleeping in the fetal position in the corner. Like, it was like the exhaust. I thought she was killing herself and the exhaust was going through the car. Like, she rerouted the car exhaust. So I don't know how people function on that, but let's teach.
Yeah, some people overdo it. It goes with everything.
I mean, but here's the thing. I don't think I could train with it, but if I was doing something like a yoga, which I definitely want to start to do more of just to get more limber, I would try it then, but even then, I'm not going to get out of the car and have just smoke billow out. Like, that's just not it. We do have one quick question here from Davey. All chicken we buy from the stores are pumped full of hormones and steroids. How does that compare from consuming food with PEDs versus directly injecting them? John,
it's simple.
Okay.
If the chicken is pumped full of steroids to make it bigger and you eat the meat, that doesn't mean you're getting the steroids that the chicken took. Okay. You might have an elevated, consumption level of whatever hormone was in there, but it's going to be absolutely minimal. The things you got to worry about are the antibiotics and the other drugs that they give these animals to, keep them alive in the squalorous conditions and all of that. So, there's definitely a trade-off there, but if you took an organic chicken, and now we got to, you say the word organic, now you got to define organic, because it's like saying natural bodybuilder or what's organic? Is it compost? I mean, what's in the compost? What not? If there's no non-organic, if there's non-organic material in the compost, well, then what did you do? You've wrecked the whole thing. So these lines, I think, are very blurred, and you just got to do your homework and understand what you're trying to accomplish and what your potential impediment is by consuming other things that may not fit what you're calling yourself.
Is it really that much of a debate? I don't know. Like, who cares?
I never thought of that. I never thought about putting it like that. But I mean, I did think of, because you're constantly reading about how dirty our food is. I mean, it's awful. And I mean, that's the thing. It's like, that's why I know, John, you don't like to eat out a lot. You like to do things like a specific way. And there's a lot of folks I know that do that. I don't. I eat a lot of shit now because there's stuff with my kids that they leave it out, and I'm like, no, I'll just eat this goldfish. There's like 3 left, and then
waste if you don't eat it, right?
I know. I'm like, no, they are a flavor blast. Like they're really good.
There's
Let's
a
see.
famous Chinese restaurant that I won't out them, but I went in there.
Oh
I
no.
went in there a couple of months okay, there's 3 incidents. So I went in there and
3?
3, yeah. No, because it's so convenient. I won't out them. So I went in there and there's nobody in there, right? So I'm looking and I look behind the counter and the woman's cutting her toenails and they're shooting all over the restaurant. All right. So I was like, I boycott that place for like 3 years. Then I go and I had a sore throat. I get chicken noodle soup, whatever the hell it was. I put my spoon in and around it is a cluster of hairs around my spoon. All right.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Then I drive by and they have a big table set outside. It's probably about 85 degrees out. And there's flies going on and they're cutting the chicken in the parking lot where there's cars, there's exhaust going on, like flies, and they're leaving it there. And it's out there for, I don't know how long it was out there, unrefrigerated as well. And they're cutting it back there. And yet, so many people go to this place, and they're nice people, so I can't out them. But my friend went there the other day, and he goes, "Is this normal?" And it was an uncooked piece of beef in the middle. And he goes, "Hey, you go to the owner, and you're like, 'Hey, there's an uncooked piece of beef.'" She's like, "Oh, okay." Like, "No, I'm sorry."
Oh.
Oh my God. In Mexico, especially in Guadalajara, the big thing is the chickens on the barbecue on the side of the road, right? Let me define side of the road. 1 inch from where the tire track is. Okay. They got this half 55-gallon drum, with the charcoal in it and the chicken's cooking on it. And there's trucks going by, garbage trucks, cars, people throwing shit out the window. And I am absolutely not exaggerating. 1 inch. 1 inch from the side of the road is that barbecue. I mean, if the rear view mirror could hit it on the passenger side. And they're all over the place. Dust, dirt, everything. And people buy those things and eat them all day long. It's insane.
All right. Let me go to sorry, dude. EP09. Almost had it.
Can you guys come up with easier names for Zach to pronounce, please?
I know it's and then of course I just turned off my monitor, so that's fun. Golly. All right, hang on one sec. Basically, he said the Detroit Pro has 6 competitors, and the prize money is $25K. I don't know what the comment or like what the I don't know. I mean, it just says thoughts. So if you could tell us what you think.
He probably wants to know why more guys aren't doing it. I mean, if it's 25 grand prize money.
Okay, so why is that? Is it because it's Detroit?
Could be. Detroit's a shithole, so yeah.
I've been there. My favorite part was when I got out of there. That was when I left, packed up and headed out.
You live there?
No, I was there for WrestleMania one year, and we were there for like 8 days, long 8 days. Sure was.
I'm going out there in a month for Transcend HRT. Okay. They're building a 60,000 square foot gym and office. And how funny is that? The guy just texted me from there. Yeah, so Phil Heath's a part of that company as well. So I think he has an office there. So we're going down to check it out, and whatever. So that's what. But everyone keeps saying it's up and coming. Buy it now. Buy around Detroit. I don't know.
Sorry, quick pump. I know you're from there. I was just playing games. He says it's actually in Dearborn on the border of Detroit. It's an all right area. All right.
Yeah, in Detroit, you can probably buy a house for $6.
Where was 8 Mile? Pump? Was that Detroit? Where was that?
Oh, Eminem's hometown?
Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like a cozy place to be. I feel like I would have really thrived there.
You'll never be lonely.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been it for me. Like no school, no nothing. I would be in the basement, like peering out the window.
Yep.
That's about it. But okay, so but let's figure that. Let's try to entertain. So okay, that actually those 6 people probably don't want more people to show up, right? Because if there's 25K on the line and you're 1 in 6 chance of winning, shoot, man.
What is it?
That's
The Niagara Pro Show?
he said Detroit.
Oh, you know what's
Detroit Pro? I think you could look at that a couple of ways. I think you could look at it as, shit, I'm not going to fucking Detroit for 25 grand. You could look at it that way. Or you could look at it as scheduling wise for their strategy on when they want to compete versus, you know, what shows next. So there's one reason. And the other reason is I mean, while 25 grand is definitely a step up, I think it's 10 grand more than it was last year. It's still in a pittance. I mean, to get ready for a bodybuilding show and do everything that you got to do to get to it, to put 25 grand in your pocket, it probably costs you almost that much to get there. So,
Yeah.
And then what if you take second? You know, what do you get? 5 grand.
Depends on the date too, because remember after the Olympia, there was always that European tour where like 8 shows in a row, and they, you know, the prize money was actually decent, but people usually go, you know, except for the open bodybuilding, Pittsburgh Pro, New York Pro, Toronto Pro. So somewhere in there, like in some of the guys that obviously the guy that wins the New York Pro probably won't do the Niagara, like I'm sorry, not Niagara, the Detroit. Like, so I don't know, I got to look at the schedule. But I was funny you should say that. I keep saying Niagara because there was a rumor on Google that Albert Beckles was dead. So I called him up. I spoke to Albert, and Albert won the Night of Champions, which is now the New York Pro. New York Pro, yeah. He won that at 52 years old, and he won the Niagara Pro Show at 61.
Wow.
Jeez.
Isn't that crazy? Wow. But he's still alive, and everyone's disputing it. I'm like, then who the hell was I talking to on the phone?
Yeah.
Good question.
First of all, so there's a question about the Beacon, the Night of Champions at the Beacon, and whether you guys missed that, it being there. But I do have a question too that I want to go back to, so we could do both. And that's so okay. 25 grand being a pittance, as you said. So what would be a good target? Meaning, what is a good prize money that you'd say or suggest a younger competitor, or if you were younger and would want to go compete, would be a number that would be, you know, more to your liking?
I think 100 grand should be the minimum prize money in any pro bodybuilding show for first place. It should be 100 grand, period. It's not like the industry doesn't have the money. The industry's got tons of money. They just don't want to spend it. So if you can get bodybuilders to show up for $12, why give them 13? You know, so it's just a matter of opportunism in the minds of these guys competing. If they think, well, here's a Detroit Pro, there's only 6 guys in it, and the prize money is 25 grand. I got a good shot of picking up a few bucks. No, you don't, because it costs you more to get there. So,
right. So you're saying the promoters then? You're saying the promoters are what am I trying to say here?
The promoters are not getting enough money from the sponsors.
Okay,
so they got to up the game. So if any other sport, this is not an issue. It's an issue in bodybuilding because bodybuilders are opportunistic. They will compete for nothing if it means they can get over on the next guy. So that's the problem. If it was an actual real sport, not a pageant, where, you know, real sponsors are out there like Nike and Red Bull and Monster, and you're getting real top level sponsorship, the promoters should be passing some of that on to the bodybuilders, and they don't. But the promoters are making money. They're making a lot of money. So, you know, they just don't want to share it. That's the problem.
So doesn't that get you, okay, and I don't want to say get you in trouble because, you know, what does that even mean? But I feel like if you say that enough and enough promoters hear that, they're going to see you and say, hey man, like, I'm not greedy. You're calling me greedy, basically. And I don't know. Have you had those conversations? Have you had those confrontations?
Yes. I'm not going to say with whom, but the issue is, and this is straight out of a promoter's mouth, Like I just said before, why give them 50 when they'll do it for 49? That's the problem. The bodybuilders show up. If the bodybuilders don't show up because it's not worth it to them, then the promoters, you got to force his hand. But what happens is you get these guys who say, well, I'm not going to that show. It's only 25 grand. You get enough people to say that, only 3 guys show up. You have a 30% chance of winning 25 grand. So that's the problem. If the bodybuilders stuck together, unionized themselves, had a real representative that what did not work for the corporation, and forced the money to come to the bodybuilders by virtue of, look, you don't pay us, we're not showing up. And then all of a sudden, you'll see that the promoters all automatically found the money.
Okay, Frank. But on the other side of that, Frank, you've been been a promoter of shows, and you know plenty of people that do that. And I'm curious. This is a genuine curiosity for me here. Does John have a point, or is there not enough money going into? Because I know what you mean. There is a lot of money in this industry, but sometimes I am thinking about where it actually does get distributed or where it goes. Is it to the promoter and sponsor? I guess I'm not understanding.
Back in the day, there were very few pro shows. Comparative to what it is now, there's a ton of pro shows because there's a ton of divisions.
Right.
So now you have to give prize money to all of these divisions. So on a show by show basis, if I give $25,000 out to Detroit, and those aren't the top tier bodybuilders that aren't going into the show, and it's bikini, you're not going to get the audience or the sponsors that you would get for, say, the Mr. Olympia or the Arnold, and that you might, like, if you go to some of these shows, half of them, once the bodybuilders leave, half the audience is gone after prejudging. Like, they're there to see the freaks. And so, the guys who are just bigger than life. So if you get in the top three or top 4 tier guys, or the guys who've never qualified for the Olympia and stuff, there is no a lot of money, because, like I said before, if you had 20 shows back in the day and you had major sponsors, we had Metrics, EAS, Champion, all these companies, and they were throwing big money at these shows. But now you got, I don't know how many worldwide shows, how many IFBB Pro League shows, how many NPC shows. There's a ton of shows. So now you're all pulling from the same pool of advertising. So, okay, the Olympia has a big audience. The Arnold has a huge audience. They have extra stuff going on. However, but these other shows, I mean, you go, John, you've been to some of these shows in like California, or some of these shows where, like, you've never even heard of these guys who qualify for the Olympia or whatever. And then they place, 16th out of the 16th place, but there is no money. And I know the IFBB Pro League just had Wolfpack as a major sponsor for the wellness division, and they increased the prize money. But if you look at the Arnold, right, the Arnold doesn't have many of the women's divisions that the Olympia does. So giving away $500,000 to the winner, okay, great. But if you look at the prize money comparatively of what the Olympia gives out and how many athletes that the Olympia has comparative to the Arnold and how much money they do spend, it's not even close. So, you know what I mean? So you have to, does Chris Bumstead need $40,000 at this point? I'm sure his sauna in his backyard is worth more than $40,000. But I mean, and that's a division that's really thriving right now. But I think, look, can prize money be elevated? I guess on a show by show basis, if you look at the books, you can make the case. But a lot of these shows, and I know, especially the pro shows, like an NPC show, you get 300 to 300 people to 1,000 people. Like all the men's physique and bikini people show up. You're going to make some money, right? But in a pro show, if you're not holding the pro show with an NPC show, right, how much prize money is there to give away if you don't have sponsors? So if you have an audience of 1,000 and the seats are $40 a pop for prejudging and $60 at night, what's that, $100,000? So now if I'm giving away $100,000 in prize money, where the hell am I, how many booths are at these places now? There's not a lot. So I don't know. I guess on a basis, if a huge advertiser came in and said, you saw Apple, then I'd be like, where's that money going? Where's that going? I don't know.
Well, I think, Frank, that's a great explanation. It's a good point. I think part of the problem is that the sanction for the show has become a plum. So if you were a good boy in the IFBB and the NPC, eventually you get a sanction. It means you get your own show, and that's an opportunity for you to make a lot of money. But you play that forward enough times, and now you got too many shows. So one solution is pare down the number of shows, make that sanction really valuable so that only, a few people can get their hands on it. So if we, for example, let's say there's 100 shows in a year.
Mhm.
So you're soliciting, advertisers to put up money, prize money, whatever money for that show. Now pare that down to 25 shows. Now all of a sudden you got a much smaller universe to split all that money up in. And the other problem is that these promoters always go for the low-hanging fruit. Let's get Metrex, let's get Redcon, let's get the big supplement companies, and because they're easy. So let's not try to get, Levi's or Harley Davidson or Red Bull or Monster or any of these giant companies that could put $1 million down and not even blink. So, but with that reasoning, there's also $100 million supplement companies that could put up more money. Redcon could put up way more money than they're putting up now. All of these companies could. They've been conditioned to get away with the least. So that's what happens. We have a conditioning problem that bodybuilding is just a cheap sport. How do you make it not cheap? Well, don't dilute it, number one. Number two, go outside the industry and find big sponsors to put the money up. And I hate the argument, well, we tried and they don't want to do it. Well, then get a better salesman. It's not the reason. So, there's plenty of money in this industry, and there's plenty of money surrounding this industry for shows to offer much more money than they're offering now. Pare down the number of them so that you have the exclusivity of having an IFBB pro title, and try improving it from the inside, and you see what happens. But to just blanketly state, "Oh, there's no money," it's just not true. It is not true.
If I'm Redcon and I have, like when I ran Metrics, we had a multi-million-dollar budget, but you have to show an ROI on it. So
Right.
usually it would be 3 times what you put in. So if I'm Redcon and I put $1 million in Olympia and I see $1 million worth of media, okay, like coming back to mine sales and everything. Wow, a bird just hit my window.
That's what that was? Oh man.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, great. But I can't give out, like if I'm going to give out money to like one of these shows that doesn't have a big social media following or a big audience following, what am I getting out of it when I can give the money to an athlete who has 10 times the amount of social media, and I only have to give them a fraction of what I wanted to give the show. Now, if I'm also a mainstream advertiser, like look at Arnold. Arnold has access to anyone in the entire world. I mean, Arnold had but look at the sponsors that Arnold has. I mean, he's got a lot of sponsors, right? But is there? I don't know. I'm asking you. Is there anybody out there like that you saw the differently that no one else had? I don't know. Like
I don't think the Arnold in Columbus is a good example because it's so giant and encompasses so many other sports.
Yeah.
With respect to just bodybuilding,
Mm-hmm.
it's just gone on so long like this that the industry is conditioned to it. So if you mentioned Redcon, I mentioned, let's use them again. This is no shade on Aaron. Let's say Redcon says, all right, we did 120 million this year. Let me put, let me put $2 million up for prize money or sponsorship or whatever. Let them divide it up in between a few shows or however you want to machinate it. The issue becomes how diluted that gets. So if he's putting up X amount of money for X number of shows, that should equate to X amount of prize money. but for some reason it just doesn't. So I think it is because the industry's conditioned to it, that everybody knows that bodybuilders will compete for almost nothing. So why rock the boat? You know, why make any changes?
Again, it's got to come down to your return on investment. Like if you look at women's basketball now with Caitlin, it was $500 a ticket to get in the door, just because it's so ultra popular. Like bodybuilding, if you look at it, and I hate this thing when people are like, oh, it wasn't like it was back in the day, which is complete like garbage, because it is, because there's more eyes on the sport, because like Bum says 23 million followers. Phil Heath's got 5 million. Like there's so many millions of followers and stuff. But some guy wrote in here, and they gave out 1,447 pro cards in 2023. So all these people have to compete in shows. So like you said,
exactly.
No matter who comes in with the money, it's going to be watered down. But that's where a tier system comes in, where unless you qualify for the bigger show, you're going to get more money. So I don't know, because it's just going to get bigger and bigger. So, but I don't know who's getting sponsors and what the story is, but it's definitely, the bigger shows, bigger prize money. Like, I don't know, these shows are you going to, Saturday when the Olympia happens, right? Who won the Olympia? Who won the Olympia? Who won it? Who won it? You're going to ask all these people. Who won the Arnold? Who won the Arnold? Who won the Arnold? Are you going to say, who won this 4th tier show? You don't care.
Right. That's true. But the other thing you said about ROI, I wanted to comment on.
Yeah.
ROI is not always trackable. For example, when Pepsi spends $3 million on a 30-second ad for the Super Bowl, what's the ROI on that? How do you calculate it? You can't. It's impossible. What it is, it's branding. So branding has value, but you can't measure it. So with respect to bodybuilding, if you're going to spend $250,000 on a giant booth at the Olympia and bring 50 people in and put them up and feed them and make this big show, what's the ROI on that? Zero. You're not getting anything back on that. It's going to cost you money, but at the same time, you're spreading your brand's awareness. You're doing what Pepsi does during the Super Bowl commercial. Well, so everybody's married to this ROI. There's no return on it. Yeah, there is. You're just not being able to calculate it because there's no metric for it.
You can calculate it, because I sold advertising for major companies and advertising, and it is brand awareness. But I'm going to say, okay, that appeared in the back of the Super Bowl. Like, I'm talking to my boss. I'm like, Frank, you spent $5 million on this ad? Yeah. How could you quantify that? I'd be like, well, you know what? 800 million people watch the Super Bowl, and it buzzed by them. So I can't get analytics on how many people walked into 7-Eleven or a store and bought Pepsi, but I know that I got, 800 million eyes on that thing. And as far as buying a booth at the Olympia, it's a different game. The social media attached with buying a booth there is priceless, because you're going to get top tier people that you don't have to pay for, that are going to be there, that are coming to do your podcast and do this and monetize other things for you. And it's a good place to just do some PR for any product launch or what have you. But if you're if you're a big company and you have money, or even if you're a smaller company, you're standing there and, Flex Lewis walks by. Hey, Flex, can I get a picture? Can we talk? Like, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you can't quantify that either. But it's brand awareness.
Right.
But I'm sorry, Zach, but in that example, if Flex Lewis walks by, let me take a picture with him. You get your logo in the background. Now you're posting that on social media, and 10 million people are seeing it. So you got to be there.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a waste. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've had these discussions too with other brands, and who say to me, okay, well, what are we going to get out of this? And it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm not, like you said, I can't go follow people around all day, but also it's also how you position your product. Like, I can't, if you're just running an ad, that's on you to make sure that your target audience is being catered to. Sometimes it's literally just display, and that's all you're paying for. But it's not, don't just blame everybody else. Like if you didn't think about how you can actually reach or engage with people to make them not just being aware of it, but want to support it, then that's on you. But what they do is that's the first thing that they'll look at. If they don't hit the bottom line, it's like, okay, well, where do we spend money? There.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're done. Like we're not going to spend it anymore.
If I bought a storefront, if I had a store in Manhattan on Park Avenue, and there were 500,000 people walking by my store, but nobody came in, whose fault is that? Is that I got eyes on the store because my product sucks and nobody cares. So if I put something out there and advertise it, it doesn't mean that you're going to get people who are engaging and see analytics that, oh, people are buying because, we saw you. Like that was my biggest pet peeve with companies. Well, you have 4 million impressions, but it only turned out to be, 6 sales. Well, whose fault is that? Because once they go to the landing page of your website or your marketing or read about your product, they don't want it.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Exactly.
If there's no effort put into it, or if it's just you're using, and look, I get that part, you're trying to get people to know more about it or be interested in it. But if you don't put any other effort into the actual product itself, we've had that before where, this was pretty bad. They didn't like this. And I'm like, look at the product. No one's going to use it. Like that's not we tried. We did our best, but that's not really. The world is telling you something, not us. Like it's just it sucks.
We had a trainer on this mega fitness site. He wanted to do online training. Nobody cared. You know what I'm saying? Like everything else, but nothing. There was nothing. Like nobody cared. It's just like you got to have a good product as well. You get eyes on it, but yeah.
It's also different now, like you said, Frank, because the brands are the people themselves, right? So they can build themselves up. Right. Whereas before it helped to be attached to other things and other brands. Now when Chris Bumstead's his own brand. Flex Lewis is his own brand. And now he has branded, gym, all this stuff. So it's just a lot different. And if you're, even think about this, there were times where we were paying athletes for exclusivity, so they couldn't shoot with other people. But I mean, obviously, you remember that.
Yeah, I know. Blackman started that at Muscular Development.
Oh my God, I always thought that was so dumb because it was so annoying because it was like, how is that good for anybody? I get what he was trying to do, but at the end, I just thought it was a pretty bad way to do things.
You got to. I think you got to also factor in social media as a whole. For example, Sam Sulek. Sam Sulek never competed. He's just a kid. He drinks chocolate milk and he's huge. He's got a big following, right? He goes to a bumfucked Egypt show and you got people waiting online to meet him for an hour and 40 minutes. You got to buy $100 worth of his supplements that he's repping for. And if you want him to sign anything, it's another $40. So you bring in this huge name with a giant following. People line up around the block to see him. They're spending money there on supplements and to him. You have a captive audience. So, but how are you gonna say that, well, it cost me $20,000 to have him there. And is that worth it? Well, line around the block, they all came. Yeah, it is worth it. But to drum that into somebody's head who doesn't believe it, it's impossible.
The big difference too is like when we had the magazines and you look forward to a Jay Cutler back workout. Right. I didn't have to go on Instagram, Facebook, X, and everything and see a Jay Cutler back workout. Like it was exclusive. It was new. I was waiting for it. So what do you get out of these athletes that they don't already put up on their already on their own personal pages too? That's the big difference too. Like, hey, this workout's sponsored by Muscle Milk or something. Like, then they're like, oh, but now it's like, let me just go straight to the athlete and go right to their page.
Or they throw it on YouTube and they monetize it that way. They could do when you talk about John, when you talk about people that are filming their workouts, like when you're turning into a business like that, I get it. But some people are just doing it just for the clout of it. That's what we were talking about before, when it's good to ban tripods. But these guys, they have the following who are interested in what they're doing. So I get it. It's I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know how this works, dude. I don't know how like these shows work. So it's interesting to me to see like how. Yeah, I don't know. It's because it seems like there's a lot of money, but I've never competed, so I don't know how much goes into having that prep and what that's going to cost. That's a good point too, John. Yeah,
it's brutal. It's just brutal. Frankie knows it's brutal.
I didn't realize how much it was for a bikini competitor. The suit, the hair, the makeup, the tan, the heel. Like, it's expensive.
Those suits are like $1,500.
Wow.
Men's
or more, depending on how much glitter they got on them.
There's a lot of it's a lot of expense. And I mean,
Yep.
Look, it is, we'll see what happens. Things are changing so quickly with streaming and all this other stuff. Who knows what's going to happen? But like you said, like it'll be interesting to see with all the, 1,447 pro cards. I mean, over the course of 5 years, I mean, you got to have to find even more places for these people to compete, right?
And the other thing is that dilutes the prestige of a pro card so much. I don't even think it's calculable. You can literally go to a pool bar and the girl working the beer tub is a card carrying IFBB pro.
Well,
I mean, no shade on the girl, but come on, that's just not what it should be.
It's a different prestige now. Like back in the day we talked about, there's only a couple of pro cards, but now it's like, I feel like it's a ticket to the game. Like, welcome to the game.
Yeah.
Welcome to the big leagues. And now you got to really earn your way through, because how many people have become Mr. Olympia? You had Hadi Chopin, you had Rami, and Derek Lunsford. And Derek Lunsford, like he won the 212. He worked his way up, but like you said, it's not like back in the day where Kevin Levrone came in top 5 and this guy came in. I mean, but also too with the overseas people who aren't from this country are dominating. So, wellness. If you look at all the divisions, I mean, Brazil is huge right now.
Yep.
So
I got a question about, you mentioned it, Frank, about streaming, right? So like I know that Twitter, X, whatever, it's like they're streaming, they're getting specific college games to go on there, for exclusivity, and you have the ability to stream pretty much anywhere. So if the IFBB Pro League, if they said, you know what, we want to stream all of the shows, what does that do to the promoter? Would the promoter say, no, it's our show? Like, we're going to be the ones. Okay.
So you get a contract. I mean, you have to abide by whatever, whatever it states in the contract. I don't know if there's, like, at this point in time, I don't know if there's a clause in there or whatever. That they have to use a certain streaming service or what have you. But I don't think so, because look at the Arnold and look at the Olympia. They use 2 different streaming services, and the New York Pro uses somebody different. They all use independently different one. Yeah. So I don't think so. But
you know how baseball has like the minor leagues and then the big show, right? I think we're getting to the point where with over 1,000 pro cards being issued in a given year, we should make that like the minor leagues, and then you got to get. Then you need to move up from there. You got to compete in the minor leagues until you qualify for the next level up. And then you can compete in the Olympia, the Arnold, and stuff like that. But there's just to give somebody a pro card and then say, okay, qualify for the Olympia this year. Who's good? I mean, the dilution is just too huge. So if you concentrate it more, you put less out there with more value, you're going to get more people fighting for it. But to just give these, remember when a pro card was like gold? I mean, when you had a pro card, that was huge. We only gave out like 4 of them, a year.
Like the Willy Wonka ticket, John.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't even, like, you knew who the top guys were going to compete in the nationals and the USA. I mean, it was all over. You had American Muscle magazine on ESPN, and you had all the show, and the magazines were always like, oh, up and coming Matt Mendenhall or Ken Flex Wheeler or Chris. They would do like previews. Like, I don't know who guys are who are going into these shows. Like, even on social media, it's like the pros. I don't know. It seems like I don't know who the next up and coming great bodybuilders are. Do you, John?
Here and there, but not. I couldn't give you a list of 10 of them. But if there was effort made on the part of, like wrestling does, they have character development. They have an actual division for character development. We don't have that, and typically, most bodybuilders have a personality like the middle of a donut. They're just boring, completely boring. But if you had a character development division that would take somebody and invest in them, create a character, create conflict between the characters, make it so that it's kind of like a soap opera-ish, something that you can follow, you'll suck more people in. But we pay zero attention to the personalities of these guys. And unfortunately, most of them don't have one. So you're looking specifically for their body. Other than their body, they're nobody. And that's just not attracting. We've proven it. It's just not an attracting element to the sport. So why are we still kicking the same dead horse is what I want to know.
Yeah. Well, okay. So can I ask, so Gary comes in and this is, I think, a fair question. Why isn't New York Pro a packed house for the same money as a Detroit show? Do you mean a packed house as in like a more stacked lineup? But that's, it goes back to what you were talking about, because it's obviously New York is a more, sorry, quick bump, I know you're from there, but it's a little more desirable of a place than Detroit. So, but that's, but also here's the other thing. Maybe the venue costs more money to I don't know, man. I don't know. That's what I mean. There's a lot of moving parts.
History and precedent. I mean, you're going from the Night of Champions to New York Pro. It's like, why is the Olympia so big? And this shows, it's like, it already has history. You're starting something new. Like, you gotta, and then you have the head judge of the Mr. Olympia, who's at the New York Pro, right? And that New York Pro doesn't have a NPC show attached to it.
Right.
That's one of the only shows it doesn't have. But I'll tell you right now, knowing the venues are way more money in New York. I mean, you can't even get a school for less than $10,000. So you think you're going to get a big theater? I mean, it's a lot of money. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's precedent history. But John, like if you look at bodybuilding and you look at all the I don't even want to call it like the physique competitions.
Right.
If you equate it to a sports organization like the NBA, the NFL, and all that, there's so many layers to everything. Like even kids growing up, like they have their hand. The NFL will have their hand in youth sports. They have it in collegiate sports. They have it in team. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like down all the way up, and then they have streaming service. They don't have network services. This is what you have. If you want part of this, you have to pay 22% or 30% using the MLB logo or this or that. But you also have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people and millions of people playing these sports. You know what I mean? Like, so the money's there, the mainstream money's there, but how many people, and I'm just asking this, how many people are like, wow, I want my son or daughter, I'm going to put all my money into this and competitive. And, because, Zach, you played sports. It could cost $1,500 to $10,000 a month for traveling teams and everything else, for sports. So I'm saying like
upkeep on equipment. Yeah. All that stuff.
Is it the same thing or is it, can it be created? I don't know.
Bodybuilding needs some love.
Yeah. Well, they need like, that's what I'm saying.
So, so then does it come down to a marketing issue? Is that what you're saying? Like, is it all about marketing?
I think it's more than that. It's way more than that.
No, I meant it's like that's what I was getting from John. I didn't know like that. I think he's saying it needs some love, meaning like it needs to be marketed differently. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, it needs to be marketed differently, and it needs to be perceived differently. Needs to be. It needs to be. Right now, when you say bodybuilding, what is the first word that pops in everybody's mind?
Steroids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as long as that's the case, you're going to have issues. So you got to somehow break that. But how? I mean, we've been conditioned, like I keep saying, we are conditioned to a certain MO in this industry, and it's going to take a lightning bolt to change it. But once you do, I think the money's going to flow. But you gotta unstigmatize the sport, and you got to do that with some PR, some marketing, character development. You got to make the steroid issue less important, and because you're never going to get rid of it, and make other aspects of it more important. But nobody wants to do that. They want to leave everything the way it is because the guys at the top are making tons of money.
I don't know how you change the perception though, because here's the other. We've talked about this too. It's not like it's just bodybuilding. PEDs are all. John, you've said you've worked. You didn't mention names, but you've worked with CrossFitters. You've worked with other athletes. So it's not like it's at this point. It's one part of being fit or like that industry. So I don't. But I also don't know how you change it because we're still there.
Yeah, we are, and that's I just don't think we have tried, really. I mean, with any degree of scientific implementation of marketing strategies that work, of character development issues that work, things that have been proven to work. We don't do any of that. Zero.
So look more on the psychology end of things, and rather than just go by gut feelings, and kind of look to see how. And like the best way to change the tides?
John's right. Like, look, marketing. If I was a big business and I was looking in on the inside, I'm like, let me check this out. Yeah, Victoria's Secret was a multi-million-dollar company, right? And they streamed the whole Victoria's Secret show, and millions of people tuned in and stuff. Now, are those women any better, or or do they have more attraction to guys? Like, there's the bikini division is absolutely huge in the NPC. Like, so if there's any marketing put together that coupled with selling of suits, like you have to pair it with something. Things need to be paired together in order for them to work. Like, I probably could sit down for an hour, and I'm not going to do it on this thing, and put together a completely laid out, structured plan. I ain't doing it. But I know exactly. But I'm telling you, it's like you have to pair something. Like, look at hockey, right? Hockey in this country does horribly. I don't even think it's on any major network anymore, unless it's the playoffs or if it's the what do you call it, or the Stanley
the
Cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Stanley Cup. I'm not talking about the Olympics. I'm just talking about in general. It's not. If you look at the hockey analytics comparative to NBA, MLB, and NFL is a monster, but every stadium sold, like hockey sold out everywhere. But why is there not so much a want for like viewership on certain networks and stuff? Like, look at it. Why? Like, it's almost like the same. Think about that. Like, if you go to an Islander game or a Ranger game, they're always sold out.
That's a great point, Frank. And I think the point of difference is that to the spectator, there is talent in baseball, in football, in hockey, in basketball, in all of those sports espouse talent in a measurable, viewable, appreciable way. You actually score points that you can count. When it comes to bodybuilding, that's it. It's the body. There's no talent. I'm not saying that bodybuilders are talentless. What I'm saying is there espouses no talent during the contest, unless you want to consider posing a talent, which, it is, but it's not like hitting a home run. So long as bodybuilding is a singular issue, look at how I look. Like you said, it's not paired with anything. There's no talent with it. So if you had something that, even wrestling has talent to it and the entertainment value because they develop the characters. So if we don't do any of that stuff and we just rely on bodybuilding to be popular because it's bodybuilding and most of the audience is bodybuilders, you're
Mhm.
going to lose because the universe is not that big. And we're in the throes of that right now. 1,400 pro cards in 1 year. Like Frank said, where are they going to go?
How much does it cost? Do you guys know how much it costs to just to secure the pro card for the year? Because you have to. Do you get it by just winning the competition? But you have to renew it, right? You have to pay
for it. Yeah.
I mean, that's, dude, 1,447 times however much that cost is a pretty sweet chunk of change for the organization. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But ask them, and it's nothing. It's not enough.
What is this? Oh, someone said about can you make, and it's actually a good point. Bodybuilders who are in the industry making a ridiculous amount of money, like
Yeah.
like the C-Bums and Kai Greens and all these other people make money outside of the industry. So that there's an audience or a want or a need, for
Right.
that. So
What was that series? What was the TV series Kai Green was in recently? It was it one of the Netflix
Stranger
shows?
Things.
Stranger Things.
Okay.
He played that old man. It was a great character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that.
Walking.
What's that? Where? Yeah. Don't go back into the cave, though. Then we
He's
won't
not
be
a
able to
model
see it.
walk.
Yeah. You know why? Because my laptop needs a little juice. My laptop needs to be juiced.
Did James Caan? Okay. Did James Caan ever attend bodybuilding shows back in the day? I didn't know he was a fan. Was he?
James Caan trained at Venice Gold's Gym.
Yep.
He trained there, and a guy he was actually another actor, Jeep Swenson, who's a friggin' huge guy. He was in Adam Sandler movies, and
Yep.
he was huge. But he passed away. But James Caan used to be a bodybuilding fan. Yeah.
Roger Lockridge, writer to every outlet known to mankind, is saying that James Caan competed. I did not know that either. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Huh.
What
Wow.
show? Didn't Sean Connery as well? At one point, wasn't he? Like, if you look back in the day, Sean Connery, Clint Eastwood, and Charles Bronson were considered muscular at the time.
Yep.
The guys, like when Clint Eastwood did anything, any which way but loose, and Sean Connery did. We put the swimsuit on, and I think one of the James Bond movies. Like, I know Bob Kennedy was a big fan of Sean Connery. He's like, he's always, Bob Kennedy owned Muscle Mag at the time. But yeah, it was like
Interesting. He did in England on the Universe stage. Interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
No, I did not know
somebody
that.
else mentioned Gregory Hines being a big one. I mean, look, the one Olympia, remember we saw, it's not uncommon to see, folks kind of come in and check this out. Josh Brolin was there. Obviously, Batista was there before, even when he's not doing anything on the stage. He's been there. Shaq, I feel like, is kind of like every year he shows up. Triple H has been there before. Yeah, like there's a lot of people come and check it out. Like they're definitely fans, but it's like you said, John, it's so strange because if they're all fans, how is nobody like try to get them as a consultant or try to work with them and partner with them in some way? I mean, WWE, maybe now they're part of NBC Universal, but that's a big organization and they do a lot of different things. So I guess it's like, how would you even go about that? Or why, maybe you guys know the people that did that. I don't know, but why wouldn't they?
The other way, Frankie. There you go.
I know.
Sorry, dude.
Listen,
if you tell me I'll do the, if you tell me to do the the landscape, I will.
Take one step back. There you go.
All right, Super Marvel Gaines wants to know who had more muscle mass, Ronnie Coleman or Marcus Rule?
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, Ronnie Coleman.
Not even close. Ronnie Coleman. Huge. It was, yeah. I mean, seeing him, I would watch him train like we were both rep for the same supplement company, and just watching him train was just
Incredible.
like it. And I trained with Dorian Yates too, and Ronnie was just a whole other species. I don't know, man.
It's a good way to put it.
That guy was crazy.
There's no shade on Marcus Rule. He was a monster, but Ronnie was just past everybody in every way.
You ever tell you this story? Greg Kovacs.
400 pounds.
Kovacs?
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember him.
He was huge.
He was
legit over 400 pounds.
Oof.
He could not wipe his own ass. That's a fact.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm doing we used to do Muscle Mag store appearances where everyone would go to the Muscle Mag stores. You'd sign autographs, and it was almost like a nutrition bodybuilding store. And he used to fly in it was early 2000s, Monica Brandt and all, everybody, Trish Stratt, everybody would go. And one time we were there with Kovacs. I was there with Kovacs, and I like Kovacs. But he wasn't feeling well. So he was drinking, he had cough syrup or what have you. And I was like, oh, he's sick. And we went to this a party at this guy's house. Everybody came, there was 50 people there. And the owner, who's a friend of mine, goes, just don't have anybody in my bathroom. So, he goes, that's my private bathroom. So there's 50 people, Bob Kenny, there's people all over the place, and his door's locked. So Greg, was like, yeah, I was like, you need to use the bathroom. And so he gives Greg 400 pounds sitting on the toilet, and the owner of the house comes in. He goes, what? He goes, Seppi. He goes, there's a dinosaur in my bathroom. He was furious. I never laughed so hard in my life.
Dinosaur.
If you would have saw the sheer size of this guy, it was just he was huge. He was tall too. It was
yeah.
He's like, don't let anybody use my bathroom. Of course, I have to be a jerk. I'm like, yeah. You don't use the bathroom as everybody else.
I won't let anybody else use it.
He uses it enough for everybody.
All right, we'll go one more, and then we'll wrap it up. And I'll go for a Nomad Skateboarding. Thanks for the comment. He said, and what do you guys think? Coleman was the biggest and most shredded, but physique-wise, he was not symmetrical or, quote, the best.
Ronnie, no, Flex Wheeler was. That is my knee-jerk answer to that question every time. Flex Wheeler was the most beautiful, perfect bodybuilder ever.
I agree. Okay. I agree 100%. Yeah. If you said, we had this question before, who would you want to look like? Mm-hmm. Flex Wheeler, no doubt.
Yep. Hands down.
The 93 Olympia was insane.
98 too. Incredible.
98. Yeah, he looked great.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Well, listen, that was awesome. I appreciate the comment there. But listen, thanks everybody. That was cool. We've gone on for an hour and plus, and that was awesome. This flies by, man. Sometimes I don't even know. I don't even know where we're at until I look up and I'm like, oh shit. But listen, we're going to be back Thursday. And also don't forget, go to muscleandfitness.com. Click on a bunch of ads. Go to Muscle and Fitness. All of the the social media stuff. You could always get in touch with Frank that way. Me that way, I guess, just way lesser because Frank's the only one that reminds me to post or look. So thanks, Frank. and
if you guys really support our show and get us some traction and help us out and tell people, we're actually going to spend that money to get Frankie a studio.
Yes. Yes, it's true.
You mean a desk?
So we don't have to keep going like this to see where Frankie is.
I want to start a GoFundMe page for an IKEA desk.
He needs one of those portable ring lights, the tiny ones that clip on.
Remember on Saturday night?
But if it can't be a desk, I'll take a TV tray.
Who even knows what a TV tray is anymore?
It's so funny. In this house, I have 4 bedrooms and 2 offices. You think I should?
My aunt had a little stand in the corner in the den, and it had 4 fold-up TV trays in there. And it was like a piece of furniture in the corner. You tell that to people today, they don't know what the fuck it is. They have no clue. What's a TV tray?
They were super heavy too, and then you would sit on the plastic couch, so nothing got on the couch, and then you get up and it go. It's you stick to the plastic couch.
That is so Italian, Long Island. Plastic on the couch. My cousin, she refused to have her wedding unless my aunt took the plastic off the couch. Not only that, the plastic runner on the floor so you don't fuck up the carpet. Her living room looked like a fucking time capsule. It didn't change one iota since the day she decorated it.
And then you had the leaf ashtray in the middle. Like a green leaf.
But you can't smoke. No smoking, but you got the ashtray.
That's right.
All right, we got one. We already got our first question for next time. So we're going to wrap it up, everybody. And we'll see you later. Thanks, guys.